I've heard of having rocks on the brain, but like she had like a ton of rocks in her handbag. Episode 31.
Welcome to the show.
Well, welcome to the show. You're listening to The Real Truth About You. I'm your host, Will Sinclair, and this show is about helping you to live life abundantly by providing you with tools, insights, and stories to help you to discover the real you. Well, in this show, I'm going to attempt to change the format a little bit. I've been finding the shows maybe getting a little bit serious, and I want it to be a little bit entertaining at least. And so I actually, I was at a dance, and it was a fundraising dance on Saturday night. It was probably a few days ago anyway, and I was having a real blast, and I was enjoying myself. I was dancing with my wife and friends, and just doing a ton of stuff that I really enjoyed. And I thought, gee, it would be so nice to have a podcast like this with this kind of feeling in it. And so this is what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and bring that feeling to the podcast. I'm not saying that it's going to be totally serious and that we're not going to talk about some serious things, because we are. But I want to bring a little bit of life to the podcast a little bit. So anyway, if you like the new format a little bit, I'll change up the format maybe from show to show just to see what works. I've got some transition music for certain things and whatnot. But anyway, you can let me know. Support at therealtruthaboutyou.com. Let me know if you like it or not. Anyway, I was at a trade show in my old hometown, and there was a lady there that I knew, and she came up to me and she said, "Do you want to rock?" I said, "What?" She says, "Do you want to rock?" And I looked at her handbag, and she had like a ton of rocks in her handbag. I'm like, what are you doing walking around a trade show with a ton of rocks in your handbag? And she pulled a rock out and she gave one to me, and she painted it kind of orange, and it was a nice, like, smaller than the palm of your hand, and it fit in your palm of your hand. It was nice and smooth rock. And on the rock, there was like a tiger, and it was smiling, and it kind of made you chuckle a little bit. And it was her way of like passing on some good thing, some good vibe, you know. And but she carried these rocks around, and she says, "You know, this bag is really heavy." And so she's walking around handing these rocks out, but as she hands them out, of course, the bag gets lighter. And it made me think about life sometimes, and you're probably guessing what I'm going to say. Sometimes we carry a whole bunch of rocks around with us. And it could be things we think about ourselves. It could be things that people have told us that are negative, or ways we treat ourselves, or we treat ourselves in ways that are not conducive to living a good life. You know, maybe we kind of like trick ourselves into believing we don't deserve things. Our ego takes over, and we want to do things that show ourselves off, and it's all part of the ego. I'm not saying ego is wrong, remember, but it's part of the ego. And there's just things that are unbalanced in our life, and there's lots of rocks. Maybe there's hurts in your life. And the thing about your life is you should be going around and taking these rocks out. And that's what we're in the process of doing as we go through this whole podcast and go through this whole journey together. We're looking at taking rocks out of our bag, rocks out of our life, stuff that we've, you know what, if we were to jump in the water, we'd probably drown. We're so heavy. But that's part of the life that we're wanting to move into. You know, a rock-free life, a life that's not held down by drudgery and all the things in life and the way we fool ourselves. We want to live an abundant life. We want to live a life where we're really happy, and we do things because we want to do it, because not because we need to. not because we feel we have to do it, like we have to talk to somebody about the latest thing we got because we need that acceptance to show that we're in the in crowd or anything like that. It could be anything. It could be, I got to talk to this person or show off this thing or whatever it is. There's so many things in life, and I can't always think of examples, but we try to do things that might gain attention to ourselves. Or on the opposite end, we might do something that takes attention away from ourselves because we don't want people to see. You know, maybe you're the kind of person that I know people who they're continually keep their curtains drawn in their house. Their houses are always dark, or they have lights on, but they don't ever let the light in. I know when we were kids, my mom used to do that all the time. She never wanted, we had blinds in the front, and she never seemed to want the blinds open, and it took a long time before we could let her do that. And she didn't like people looking in her house, or, you know, and there's just sometimes we do that because we don't feel good about ourselves. We don't feel good about the life that we are living, or maybe we don't even like ourselves, and that's just an expression of that by closing off the curtains. And maybe you're not that kind of person, but maybe you do that in your life. Maybe you try to close people off. Maybe you don't allow people to love you because you don't want to get hurt, or you don't allow people to help you because they just want something. And we go through this life tricking ourselves that basically we're in control. We're trying to be in control of our life rather than surrendering our life and surrendering ourselves to our higher power, to the divine within us. But anyway, I just when I saw those rocks, I thought they were a really cool idea. It was her way of passing on some kindness, and maybe you can do something like that. Maybe there's something in your life that you feel grateful for, and you want to pass on something to someone else. Maybe it's favors, or I can't remember what that was. When you pass on a favor to somebody else, you buy them the coffee in the lineup and that kind of stuff to somebody in ahead of you or behind you, or that kind of thing. And you just do these favors for people. But as long as you're doing it from your heart, and you're not doing it from a sense of obligation or a sense to make yourself feel good, you know, a need to make yourself feel good, for people maybe even to look at you, or for you to be able to say, hey, you know what I did? And sometimes we do that when we help people who are poor, like when we give to charities. Sometimes we do it so we feel better. And that's not what it's about. I remember Mother Teresa saying, if you come to India to help with the poor for a week or 2 weeks, and you go home feeling good about what you did, then stay home. Because don't feed your pride and your ego off of the poor. If you're coming to serve because you're called to serve, and serve from the heart. I thought it was kind of harsh at the start, but it took a while before I totally understood what she was talking about. And it's the perception and the perspective of where you're coming from, the attitude that's in your heart. And as you journey through life, and as you make things right in your life, as you uncover that greatness that's within you, then more of what happens in your life stems from your heart, comes from your heart. And that's where we want to be. Anyway, I'm going to move into a section. I'm going to talk about my personal journal. And it's maybe some things in my life and that I want to share with you that I'm going through. And I'm going to play a little bit of transition music here just because I want to. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, this is from my personal journal, and I've actually been going through a bunch of things, and it's been kind of this past week has been a real, deep walk for me, and I've been having these dreams, and it's funny because I was in this parade, right? I was in this parade, and the parade kept happening over and over and over again, and it always ended up with the same outcome. And it was a happy parade, but I did certain things, and it wasn't a great outcome for me, but it kept going on and on. It kept repeating itself. One time it would be in a hallway. It's a dream. Another time it would be out in a country road. Another time it would be somewhere else. And I didn't know what it was. And then right after that dream, I had another dream that I was in a hallway that was kind of darkened. And there was a sense that there was 5 people in this hallway. It was a hallway with rooms on either side, kind of like stone wall, that masonry brick stone that you usually find. But anyway, the hallway was darkened. It wasn't dark. It was just darkened. And there was 2 people right immediately at the beginning of the hallway. And then there was a slight pause, and I was kind of moving forward. And then there was a third person, a girl, and she looked right at me. And then there was a sense that there was way in the distance 2 other people. And I found it so scary. It was really scary, even though I didn't sense that these people were actually going to hurt me. But there was a scariness about the whole thing that I couldn't understand. And anyway, I woke up. And I was so kind of scared. I turned my lamp on. This is about 4 o'clock in the morning. I turned my lamp on. I got a small lamp. And I just sat there. And I didn't know what to do. And so I asked my God, what is this? And I'm cutting the story a little bit short. I said, what is this? And he said, the parade is the surface. It's your life on the surface. And it keeps going over and over and over again because it's things in your life that you do that you keep cycling over and over and over again. And that parade is going to keep happening until its goals or its purpose is achieved and you move on. And below the surface, and this is the part that really got me, below, or the hallway, I should say, was below the surface of life. It was in the depths. And it was the 5 people were 5 things I was scared of in life. And I remember watching Oprah, it was on a YouTube video, and I remember watching Oprah, and she introduced Deepak Chopra. And I expected the kind of introduction that she gave to him, and he was going to be speaking to a whole auditorium of people. And the way she spoke about him, built them up, I expected him to come out and to a huge applause and stand and speak and be dynamic. But he came out really humbly. He put his hands together in a prayer pose, and he kind of bowed to the crowd, namaste, which is my God salutes basically your God, or acknowledges your God within you. My God within me acknowledges the God within you. And he sat down on a chair. And I thought, I see a lot of speakers, and they don't sit down on a chair in the middle of a stage, and unless it's a prop for something. But he knocks on this table and he says, what is this table? He says, when you look at it, it's wood. And it's a table on the outside. On the surface, it's a table. It's solid. He says, but if you were to go inside the wood and right down to the sub-levels of the atoms, you would see a whole bunch of atoms just moving around very slowly. And so, and it wouldn't look like a table. It would just look like a collection of atoms moving. And he said, so if we want to get down to the substance, we have to go deep, not high. We have to go deep. And it's the same for our lives. We have to go down. We have to go to the depths. And that's what this hallway was. It represented this below the surface, journeying to the depths to find the true self. That if you stay on the surface, you'll never achieve anything. except keep going and spinning in circles, spinning your wheels, spinning your wheels, spinning your wheels. And anyway, so I decided I wanted to meditate. I really felt I was called to meditate or contemplate, but to sit still. I have some music that I listen to, and so I put my earbuds on and I listened to the music, and I just sat there, and I didn't go into anything deep, and I thought it would take a while, and I asked my God, okay, if these are the 5 things in my life that I'm scared of, what's the name of that first person? Because there were people. And immediately, the word that came was, the first face is called trust. And I realized I have an issue with trust. And I'm sharing this with you because we're on a journey together. I am on a journey, and I'm sharing my journey with you in the hopes that you will join me on the journey, or you will begin your journey, that maybe something I say might spark something in you. Or you might realize that other people go through the same thing as you do. But he told me that trust was the name of that first face, that first person. And he showed me all the points, especially in the last year, where I did not trust my God. I did not trust my God for my income. I did not trust my God for my love, for almost anything in my life. I sought after my own things. And I'm not saying that I was totally way out of left field all the time. But I had an issue with trust. And so he gave me some very specific things to do. And 2 of them involved giving some things away that I had purchased outside of what I call the trust zone. And the funny thing is, when I did that, which was basically that morning, when I did it that morning, I got a phone call from somebody, and it almost confirmed the whole thing about how God now was moving me onto another level, right? It was moving me somewhere else, or it was moving forward. And it was just basically more confirmation than anything else. It was more a confirmation that something divine was happening and something was transforming within me. And then the next day, I had another dream, and I dreamt that it was funny because I'd woken up in the morning. I'd said good morning to my wife. I sleep on one of these medical chairs that recline, and my wife sleeps in a bed. And I said good morning to her, and then for some reason, and I usually get up early, I fell asleep, and I had this dream, and the basic essence of the dream was my kids, who are now adults, were young kids. And I had gone, and it was like a glass door in our house, and I was on the outside, and she was on the inside. And for some reason, I said, "You want me to leave, don't you?" And she said, "Yes." Right? Leave home. Go away. Get out of here. Leave me, divorce me, whatever it is. And then I woke up, and I said that to my wife. I said, "This is the dream I had." And she says, "You've had that recurring issue coming up all through your life in dreams and things." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Abandonment, rejection." And all of a sudden, something was like, the name of the second face was abandonment. It was abandonment. And I'm pausing here because I'm thinking. And I had another dream last night before I recorded this. And I think I've been going through so much, I didn't record my podcast on time when I usually do. And I had another dream. And when I woke up, a realization came to me. And the funny thing is, I need to go get my journal. So I'm going to pause this because another face name came to me. So just hold on for 1 second, okay? I'm going to put some music on and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so this is the way you know it's a live recording, right? I actually had to go to my desk and find this. So, I had another dream. And basically in this dream, I realized that I was doing things in my life, and I'm looking at my journal, and I always talk about writing in a journal. I was doing things in my life that I was afraid to make a mistake in my life. I was afraid to make certain decisions because I was afraid to do the wrong thing. And the dream was a really complex dream, but it was all about if I didn't do the right thing, I wouldn't get God's approval. You know, and if I did the wrong thing, then he would punish me somehow, right? And I realized as I was writing this in my journal, the third face was called approval. The name of the third person was approval. And what I had done was, in my life, I had always sought my mother's approval as a child. And I ended up writing, God is my mom, and my mom is God. And the reason I wrote that was because I had projected who my mother was. And don't get me wrong, I love my mom dearly, but she's passed on now. But I had projected my mother and my need for her approval, and I had an abusive childhood, and I needed approval so bad that I placed her image on almost anybody I met, and especially on my God figure. Right? So if I didn't get the approval, then I would get the punishment. Right? And so that's what I was doing. So those three things that I have to work on is trust, abandonment, and approval. And I wrote, these are the three roots of the tree of my life that I've built. And they are, and I had said about to be uprooted or transformed to, and I changed it to being uprooted. They're being uprooted or transformed. And according to my dream in the hallway, there were 5 people that I fear. 3 have now been revealed to me, and this is all in my journal. They're either lesser or greater than those 3, or they are God, my biggest fear of all. And this is all to do with discovering who God is in my life and who I am. And I'm on this journey. And so I'm going to reveal more of my journey as it unfolds. And the thing is, this is great. This is good news. This is great that I am discovering this. I would never have discovered this if I wasn't on the journey. And to become aware of these things is like a life changer. This morning, when I went into my meditation, I came into this sense of nothingness. And what happened was, to get to that process, I was just thinking about this trust and abandonment and approval, and especially approval. And I was just sitting with it, and I was listening to my music, and all of a sudden, it was like a sentence came up. My need for, and whatever it was, for love. And then it was like a line got stroked right through it, and it just obliterated the sentence, and the sentence changed into like feathers of a dove, a white dove, and disappeared up. And then as I was sitting there, another sentence came up, and it was my need for, and whatever it was, acceptance. And it was like a line just got scored right through it, and it disintegrated, and it turned into the feathers of a dove and flew up. And as I sat there, I kept getting sentence and sentence, and it wasn't things I was thinking of. They just came to me. They just came up, and it was my need for, and it was my need was the two words that were at the start of everything. My need to podcast, right? Because I was starting to get to the point where like, wow, do people really like me in my podcast? Do people even really listen? And should I change it up? Should I do this? Should I do that? And so that people like it and like me more. And that was all part of the ego, right? My need to podcast. And it would be a line go right through it. And it would obliterate the sentence, and it would turn into these feathers and disappear. And it just kept going on and on and on through the whole thing. Kept going on and on through the whole thing, and my heaters kicked in. You can hear it in the background. You can tell I'm live. And it would just go one thing after the other. And the thing I noticed, it was my need, rather than my desire of my heart, right? There's a difference, right? My need to give, line through it, obliterated. My need to have friends, line through it. And I'm talking about need rather than desire from the heart, right? And so I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but anyway, as I went through, it was like line after line after line after line after line. And then eventually I came to this point, and I don't even know if I can describe it properly. It was a point of nothingness. It was like there was nothing, yet it was God, and it was everything. There was no anything, yet there was just total God. There wasn't any feeling of abundant joy or peace. There was nothing, but yet it was full, and it was everything. And it was God. And you might think I'm kind of going nuts a little bit, but it was such a profound morning's experience. And I know I have a lot more to go through. But I'm partly sharing this because I want to make myself vulnerable to you, because I want you to know that there is a journey, and there is something there. I am finding the divine within. That's already there. There's already greatness within you. I've been reading a book by Richard Rohr. In fact, I'm doing an online course. It's called The Immortal Diamond, and he's a Catholic priest, and he's a contemplative Franciscan. And one of the things he talks about is we try to we're the cart. We're in the cart, right? And we try to fill the cart with everything, thinking that it'll produce the horse. And it never does. And the horse is God. And we have to find God to be able to pull our life forward. It doesn't matter how great a cart we've got, or what we've got stacked up in our cart. Whether it's enlightenment or anything, it doesn't matter what you have. If you don't have the horse to pull the cart, you cannot move. And in a loose term, God is the horsepower, the horse that pulls your cart. And so you need to seek God in your life. But anyway, I don't want to turn this into something really too deep. And I want to move into something else right now, and just let you know that there's always hope, right? It doesn't matter where you're at. When you come into the awareness of things in your life, there's always hope. There's always God within you, the divine within you. Okay? So I want to do something, and I want to. I remember doing. It's called 10 Texts, and that we used to do with couples, and it's 10 questions. I don't know why I'm playing this music. It's 10 questions about your relationship, And what it does is it helps you, if you're a couple, right? It helps you to start asking questions that start a conversation to help you with your relationship. Okay? And so I want to do the first question. We call it the 10 text challenge. 10 texts as in texting. And because we used to send this out as text to couples, and we send it out once a week. So I'm going to give you the first question, and if you feel like you want to do it, then do this. And one of the great things about this is to go somewhere that you feel comfortable together, whether it's your dining room table and you're having a supper together, or you go out to the ice cream place and you have ice cream together, but some place that you feel comfortable that you guys can talk together. And so here's the first question, and you discuss it together. So one asks the question and the other one answers it, and then the other one asks the same question and then you answer it, right? So the first question is, what was the first thing that attracted you to me? What was the first thing that attracted you to me? And we've heard everything. We used to help prepare couples for marriage, and we've heard everything from, I really liked his butt, to, oh, her eyes just made me, sparkle, or she made me feel good about myself, or anything like that. So ask yourselves the question each, and allow each other the time to speak, right? And sorry, I just coughed there. I don't even know if we'll release this podcast. It's just I don't know what it is, but anyway, the first question is, and I'm just having a weird kind of day. What was the first thing that attracted you to me? Okay, so go ahead and do that question, right? Okay, now I was looking for, I have to use what's called royalty-free music, and because I'm not allowed to play music that's copywritten or published by other people, that kind of stuff, so I have to use royalty-free music that I have to buy. But anyway, while I was searching for music, I actually found these old, I guess you would call them public domain soundtracks, and I want to play one for you because it's really cool. It's one of those old recordings. I'm going to play it for you and see what you think of this. This is called Shout Like You Know It, right? Here.
Won't you shout like you know that you found the glory? Won't you shout like you know that you found the glory? Won't you shout like you know that you found the glory? Got to lay down and die someday. Won't you pray like you know that you found the glory? Won't you pray like you know that you found the glory? Won't you pray like you know that you found the glory? Got to lay down and die someday. Won't you sing?
Don't you think that's pretty cool?
Found the glory, won't you sing like you know?
Anyway,
Found the glory, won't you sing like you know?
come to the end of the show. It's been a kind of a weird balance. I had some notes, and I don't know if I kind of made sense of my notes and stuff, but I don't even know if I'll release this. If you're listening to it, then I chose to say, what the heck, right? Because part of my thing is, if I don't do it, I'll never do it. If I sit and say, well, I got to get it better, I got to do it right, or, I don't know. You say what you say and you do what you do and put it out there, and then it gets out there. So anyway, take the chance to go to our website, therealtruthaboutyou.com, and check it out. There might be some other episodes you want to listen to if you haven't listened to them all. And you can always send me an email, support@therealtruthaboutyou.com, or you could fill in the contact form. But go to the website, would you? And maybe comment on some of the podcasts that I have done before. And even if you want to tell me that this one's weird, you can tell me this one's weird. Anyway, so love you a lot. Spread the news, share it with somebody. And you know what? Have an awesome day, because you absolutely rock.